Hello, my friends, and welcome to LinkedIn Live Lunch with Jen. Today, I have really yummy baked ziti with a whole heap of fresh basil on there because you know what? Summer's coming to an end. And I got to tell you, to me, fresh basil is like summer packed into a leaf. So yummy, so good. And so that's why I got a big old pile of it on here. So I'm curious, do you have a favorite herb that you like? Tell me, and also tell me what you're having for lunch today. And I will keep an eye on the chat. And let's talk today about personal brand and leadership, and how do you leverage your brand to help you with recruiting. And so I want to start off with a quote. So this is from Laszlo Bock. He's the one of the co-founders of Humo, and they've got a great resource that they do to help you with employee engagement and whatnot. But Laszlo has a wonderful quote about recruiting that says, hiring is the most important people function you have. And most of us aren't as good at it as we think. Refocusing your resources on hiring better will have a higher return than almost any training program you can develop. And it's so true. Getting the right people into the company can make an enormous difference for that long run, all the stuff that happens downstream. So thank you, Laszlo. Woo woo. Appreciate that awesome quote. But I also want to just add that I want you to think about having the right people on your team, okay? And when you don't have the right people on your team, what that does and the impact of that to you and your happiness factor as a leader. And I think it's really interesting that a lot of times when I'm talking with leaders, they talk about how they've really given the responsibility for recruiting over to the recruiting team and or HR, kind of depending on how that fits within a company. And I got all sorts of ideas around how all that fits together. I'm not going to get into that today. But what I do want to talk about is that as a leader, and let's just imagine you're a tech leader, right? Let's imagine you've got a software development team or a project management team or something like that. Wouldn't you want to have some control over who's going to be a part of your team? And I know where you're going with right now. You're thinking, so what, Jen? Like, you know, they're going to get me resumes. I can look at those resumes and I can make a decision. Sure, I get it. But why would you give yourself this tiny, small little grouping of people to consider? Why wouldn't you consider a bigger grouping, right? And so I'm just want to talk a little bit about how you can leverage your brand today to help you with recruiting and stop abdicating or giving up the responsibility of recruiting to the other people, right? And like, so why would you give the responsibility for who you want to have come on your team? Why would you give that away to somebody else? Why would you do that? It's your team. For a lot of you, it's like your year-end bonuses, your job satisfaction, hour to hour, day to day, is based off of how things are going with your team. So why wouldn't you want to do something about that and make an impact, right? And it's funny because I've been talking to leaders about this for years and years and years. When I started my company back in 2009, I started it because I had been in the recruiting industry for 11 years. I'd helped many companies to hire many, many hundreds of people. And I was always really fascinated with how much the managers were like, yeah, but HR handles that. Yeah, but the recruiter handles that in our company. Yeah, but, right? Like they kept just like pushing it off, like, yeah, they're doing that because I'm over here and I'm busy doing my thing. I'm busy managing my people. I'm busy doing my one-on-one meetings. I'm busy talking to them about where they're at with their status is on projects or whatever it is, right? And so I hear about that. So the managers are basically saying, therefore, I've asked HR and recruiting to do their thing. And even I've been on LinkedIn since excuse me, I've been on LinkedIn since 2004. And I remember thinking like everybody should be on here. This was back in the day. And so I'm glad to see that many people are, right? But what I want to say about that is that as a manager, like one thing you can totally do to leverage your personal brand and help you as leader is to get connected to the people that you're working with and the people that you used to work with, or even maybe the people that you went to college with maybe 20 years ago, right? And so get connected, find out what's going on, connect with those people, send them some LinkedIn messages and check in, right? And so spend a lunch hour, right? Just grab your lunch, okay? And spend some time catching up with those people. Speaking of lunch, I have to take some bites, you guys. Man, the ziti is over the top. It's so good. I'm trying to do gluten-free, so we did it with the rice pasta instead. It's really good. So, I kind of just want to like go hang out with you guys. I'm just let's eat, right? Let's do potluck. Let's just sit around and eat and chat. Okay, so thanks for watching me take a bite of food, but I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. Okay, so back to this whole point of if it's your team and you want to have some satisfaction with your team and who's working for you, right? Okay, you want that. You want to make sure that you're around people that you enjoy working. So why wouldn't you then connect with people? Right. So I'm going to make an assumption for today's conversation, which is that you know what your brand is, okay? That you're clear in your personal brand. And if you're not, then go back and watch my other couple LinkedIn lives I've done recently where you can listen up on those and hear more about what your brand is, okay? So just assume that you're clear on that, okay? So leveraging that to help you with recruiting can make an enormous difference, not only for you to look at who is it that you want to work with, right? Okay. And then also, maybe there's other great people who could do really well in your company, but in another department, right? So maybe you're over here and you're in the software side and there was somebody that you knew was fantastic over in accounting. Go find that person, say, hey, what's going on? Let's talk, right? And so it can make a huge difference to surround yourself with great talent that you know that you've already personally vetted, right? You've worked with them before. So you know if they're good people, if they're going to follow through and do what they say they're going to do, when they say they're going to do, or, the people who actually come up with solutions and are not complaining all the time, right? So some of those things that are really lovely and wonderful attributes about people that you want to work with. So don't wait for HR to figure it out and find some resume that maybe through the interview process, you can find out whether or not this person really actually follows through and does what they say they're going to do, right? Do your best to go and recruit and connect with those people. And so then that way, sure, of course, HR should always have some kind of, and recruiting team or whatever, should have some kind of recruiting efforts that they're constantly doing. And hopefully they're not waiting, never talking to a candidate. Now, holy heck, everything's on fire. We need a candidate. Now we have to go crazy. So hopefully they're avoiding that, right? But you can help to avoid that as well by constantly keeping in touch with your network. And so how can you do that easily on LinkedIn? I think staying in regular connection with your network is a really big way to just start with that, right? So who are the people that you just adore, that you loved working with? Keep in touch with them, okay? And what I mean by keeping in touch, I'm not saying like a weekly message to check in, right? This could be periodic, could be a few times a year even, okay? But doing that just shows those people that you're staying in connection. Also, when you think about leveraging your personal brand, especially in places like LinkedIn, add thoughtful comments to posts. Okay. So more than the, hey, great job. And then you give them a thumbs up, right? Okay. Is there any more than you can do than just that, right? Is there something more that you can add to it? And then also think about your posts that you're making on social media. Being thoughtful about them, right? Or if, like on LinkedIn, if you're writing articles, what are you doing to be thoughtful about those articles that you're writing so that it aligns with your personal brand? Okay. And remember, all this stuff is based off the assumption that you know what your personal brand is. Okay. Just so we know. All right. Because if you don't know what your personal brand is, then don't start posting articles. I just see people write stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this doesn't align with anything that makes sense about you. Okay. So just, if you haven't gotten that first part clear, then don't write articles. And then when you're networking with people and you're keeping in touch with them, sure, you can send some quick little messages on LinkedIn or text or email or something, but then try to connect with them in person. So jump on a video call, go to lunch, go for a walk. I don't know, depends on where you live and, how far away they are, et cetera. But can you connect with them, right? And catch up and find out what's going on with life. And you do a couple of those a year, you're totally going to stay top of mind for people. And in my opinion, I don't think that takes that long. I really don't. I don't think it's that difficult. I think we make it difficult because we think, oh, I got all the 5,000 bajillion things I got to do. But we just kind of look at this a little bit different. If you had better people on the team that you really connected with better and you had more trust and they were accomplishing more, maybe you wouldn't have to have so many struggles that leads to the 5,013 things on your list, right? So look at it that way, like get ahead of it, which is why, again, I really appreciate Laszlo's comment where he said, hiring is the most important people function you have. And most of us aren't as good as we think. Refocusing your resources on hiring better will have a higher return than almost any training program you can develop. Right? So look at getting the right people in and go and keep in touch with those people that you already know. And they've worked with you. If you did a good job of managing your brand before and they know who you are and what you stand for, that's going to be attractive to them, right? And that makes a difference from when they're considering coming to work for you where you're at now. So just keep all of that in mind. And as I'm wrapping up today, I want you to stop and think about this. I'm going to give you a question here, which is how many people on your team right now, how many people on your team have you personally helped to recruit? So think about that, right? How many of those people who are there right now, and what are your relationships like? How does that compare to maybe some other folks that you don't really have any relationship of, like a long-term working relationship, right? So think about that. And think about what all those things that you've done to build and develop those relationships. And now what can you do with that to continue to perpetuate that and continue to keep that growing? Okay, that is a perfect example of how you take personal brand with your leadership and how those combined together can make a difference for your recruiting. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me for this week's LinkedIn Live. It's been fun to have lunch with you here. And just remember that your people are absolutely worth it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.